Hi, Ian.
Oh, we're back. Just ruminating on the next step here. So, where we left off, took this nose off, and now we have an empty shell of a cab. We were kind of ruminating on what the final result on the exterior is going to be, but I definitely need to put some structure back under here, and I want to start creating structure that will ultimately hold the radiator and support the floorboards. Folks were asking about how do you get under the dash for the brakes, etc. There's going to be tons of room under here. The brakes are going to go under the floor. We kind of don't have it figured out, but we're working towards it. So a lot of questions on the table.
That's what custom cars are all about.
Yeah, exactly. So I got this tube, square tube. I think it's 5/8 inch square, 16 gauge wall. I typically go to the steel supply and build my projects out of what's in the remnants rack. I don't really order full sticks of material unless I have a bigger job. The sheet metal I got here is 20 gauge for the floor. That comes in a 4 foot by 8 foot sheet, and that's usually the most affordable because remnants of that, it gets kind of pricey because they've already cut it. But these remnants in the steel supply are just drops from pre-ordered stuff. Somebody's making a gate. Sometimes you'll see there'll be like 100 that are a certain length because it's the drop off of their material. And I buy all that stuff, the remnants. It's cheaper that way. Yeah, I'm making a point to measure this. This is 5/8 inch square because I'm going to bend this, but I'm not going to use the tubing bender like you see on some of the other episodes, the hydraulic thing. This is such light gauge. I wanted to share this because, hey, if you're just like a backyard guy or gal or kid, Gianna, and you want to bend some tube, I found these just laying around basically. You'll see them at swap meets, yard sales a lot of the times. This particular one came out of a contractor that was closing his business, and folks in the trades will know right away what this is. But if you don't know and you ever see anything that looks like one of these are basically for EMT. That's electric metal tubing or something. It's conduit. Like you see the flexible conduit with all the electrics in this shop.
Mm-hmm.
There's a rigid conduit that you'll see in stores like Home Depot, for instance. It's like a silver tube and has galvanized material on it. You don't really want to weld those, but all the electrical wiring and mostly commercial installations will be bent with things similar to this. These are old and archaic, but you'll see these laying around, seriously, on job sites, in people's garages. That's like a really hard bend. And then the one I have is a pretty mellow bend. These are designed for a specific size round tube, but I'm going to show you something. It's going to freak you out. Well, maybe not. You might just be pleasantly rewarded. I'm going to bend square tube on this. If I was to try a 1 inch square tube in this, it would probably kink. But the smaller sizes like this 5/8 or half, you could pull it right around. You see the little shoe, it doesn't fit because it's a square and a round, right? But I can get away with it. You know why? Because I've done this before.
Because you're Ian Roussel.
No, anyone could do this. I just figured it out because I was weird enough to try it. On little Jewel over here, we cut all this structure out. There was like a shape that was designed to go underneath the sheet metal and around this vent that the hood would latch to. It looked similar to this here. This is a bigger version, which, to comment more on it, look, someone's cut through this at one point. I'm gonna have to get in there and re-weld that. But yeah, we took a structure similar to that but smaller out of here. So I'm going to use this 5/8 inch tube and put it behind here. So see, it'll grab the skin. Because Alan and I took the time to measure all this and even it up. So I'll have a grab on the skin behind where the hood will land. And look at this here. I'll be able to clamp along. I'll trim this back. But my bend is going to start somewhere around here. It might not match this sheet metal radius perfectly, but that's what we're going to find out. Bring it over to the table. So there's an arrow on these things. Excuse me while I grab my white thing. This is all rusty and crusty, but you can see right here, there's an arrow. Look like an arrow to you? Looks like an arrow to me. So that mark I just made while I was looking at the truck, guess what? I mean,
Goes right where the arrow is.
science. So I have this indexed. I'm going to put this on the table flat. Now, this is designed for you to put your foot. See how there's little ridges right there?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to step on that.
Well, look at that.
I'm going to bring it all the way to 90 degrees, even though we don't need it that bent. It's going to be real easy to push it back. See?
How come you didn't use that on the dune buggy?
Because I'm high tech, baby. Until I'm low tech.
That was a lot of editing on my part. I don't even have to edit that. It just happened.
Let's compare it to the truck, shall we? Oh, that's pretty close, huh? Interesting. So we want this in this slot here. So I'm going to do a little Hulk smash. Yeah, all right. Let's do one more. I don't know if these sides are even because that was smashed pretty good. So, I mean, looking at that, that's pretty close, huh?
Right, it does look pretty even.
Yeah, I don't mind if this little area isn't touching this because we're grabbing this big structure with a weld. So this little bit is very rigid. What we're making an effort to do is support this top because see, it's just flimsy right now. Let's make one more of them. So yeah, with this simple bender, you could build furniture, you could build car frame bodies, you know, if you were wanting to make like just a rough mock-up of a tube structure for any kind of car frame or whatever. I mean, you only get one radius bend out of it, but you could use anything from this smaller, 1/2 inch, 3/4, up to 1 inch round, I'm sure, in that, and still get a decent bend.
And where does one find one of those things?
You could go to the hardware store and get a new one. They're typically aluminum nowadays. I like that one because it's a cast iron piece or cast steel, very strong.
But they're at the hardware store.
Home Depot, Lowe's,
That's cool.
Contractor Supply. But like these, literally, a lot of these older ones are just like throwaway items. You'll see them laying in the corner of some
Right, estate
somebody's
sale.
garage. Yep. But they will last literally forever. This one has zero maintenance ever done to it, as evidenced by the rust and grime. It works just fine. There's a way for measuring out these if you're doing specific stuff like in a building where you're coming into the corner of a wall and you need X amount of backspace or whatever to get your bend nice, but we're not delving into that. We're just trying to bend it for this specific need. All right. And I mentioned, you know, it's not a perfect science, but it's pretty close. See, that one's not quite flat, so I'm going to persuade it a little bit with the persuader.
Let me guess.
The BFH?
Yep. I almost said BFE, but I meant BFH.
BFE is a way different. That's a different zip code. So yeah, that smooths it out a little bit. Let's compare it to this one. Now we're in the ballpark. There it is. Cool, we got two matching ones. Now I know that cab is a little bit radiused, so let's figure out where we're gonna bend this next. I'm gonna build both of these off of this side because I know that that side's a little bit flattened out. So I'm going to use this as the template and then just push the tube into that shape to make it count. But look at these very little curve. So I think I'm just going to go 1, 2, 3. We're gonna join these in the center. A lot of times I'll put a piece of solid round or something that really good fit right through there and weld it solid. I'm just gonna use this anvil. Again, this is just low-tech stuff. I could put it in the roller, but if you don't got a roller, you got a hammer and any kind of a thing. See how it's got this step here? I just use that right off the end of the anvil. I'll put that mark right in the spot where nothing is touching and just move it. Move it. Oops. Yeah, it's curving it. Got this table behind me. So what that did is put a little curve in it.
Wow. I'm amazed. I've never seen anything like that before.
I tell you, this is a relationship building experience, this entire YouTube phenomenon.
It actually kind of low-key is.
And earlier, Jamie and I were talking, and I said, oh, there's nothing exciting today. We're just gonna do some work, right? Already, she's fascinated.
I really am. That's interesting to me.
Huh. Look at that. Nice little, happy little curvature, as some of the greats might say.
Nice.
Yeah, so you can see that this is coming up over the top here, but I'm going to build this one exactly like that and then find out the in-between. Again, not a perfect world. If I hit that one a little bit different, if I hit this one a little bit different than the other one, the bend won't be the same. We're going to work it out. It's going to transfer those marks. So we're hitting in the same spot. Hopefully, I can hit with the same force and precision.
You got it, doctor.
So this is similar to what we were describing with the hammer and dolly on the sheet metal. You see what I'm describing, Jamie? There's the spot where it's not touching, so you want to push it towards that as if you would want to make it touch, but not on this hit. Let's compare. Yeah, so you can see I hit much harder through here, but I think the curved one is going to be better. I bet the second try fits better. See, look. It's coming down and aiming right into that. You see what I'm saying?
I dig it.
All right, so since I like that one, I'm gonna bring them both to the table and compare where I gotta hit this one again. So, looking at it, line up our lines. So yeah, the more curvy one is more curvy through this one, and this one. The end of it looks good. So I'm gonna hit it on those three. Yeah, I overamped it a little bit on this one. They're super close. You know, flatten this one out a little bit. There they are. The very ends aren't perfect, but they're gonna get cut off anyway. So stick it in the truck, make another assessment. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to want to cut the sheet metal right here and right here. That way this can push inward and match up. See how I did this? I notched so the tube goes in, and I folded that up so you got a nice backer that I could squeeze and weld it so all that structure is firmly attached. Yeah, let me cut out that on both sides. Cool. Okay, look at that, pretty cool. So now you can see I'm able to, this isn't interfering, this is right up against it as I would like. And now I'm going to cut this back a little bit. That way I can slip that forward a little, get it right to there. Minor cut. Creaky old saw that I should get rid of. Oh, look.
Uh-oh. Is it not plugged in?
You know what? It's not plugged in. Fooled you. It's not broken. It's never going to work if you don't plug it in, like so many other electric tools.
You know.
We got a whole bunch of cool saw blade. Got a whole bunch of cool saw blades and cutting discs in the mail the other day, so I'll be using those. Thank you very much. Right now, we're going on the big saw because it's that fast. You grab a clamp or 10. Yeah, I like it. Just like that. Put this other one into play. Do the same cut. Because it's that fast. Nice tight fit, isn't it? You know what? I might just leave these doubled up. That's going to be even stronger.
Yeah, because now they're lined up. Nice.
Yeah, look at that. Nice fit up on the sheet metal. I don't know. Let me see if I got something that'll fit inside it. I got this other piece right here. So this round tube, 1/2 inch, fits that perfectly. So I'll be able to nip those two, slide that in, weld it shut. So where these meet, it's gonna get it all nice and pushed apart like a spreader. Cut it right through there. All right, I got this tube in here. Slip it right into there. So this keeps them aligned, and also it's a backer for when you weld. They're going to be touching right now, but just before I weld, I'm going to spread it and burn that weld right in between. Right? A couple verticals later to just get this thing set in.
I'm not mad at it. It looks good. It looks good.
I'm starting to get good at this. Starting to learn this craft. All right, got some clamps on there. Start to tack this. Yes, that's a good solid grab in the structure. So see how I blew the hole through right here?
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm going to be able to weld to that inner part, so I burn it really hot. So now that's the tube in there. Now I'll just weld that shut, and then you got a full penetration weld. A little drippy, but very strong. Yeah, that ain't going nowhere. All right, so always thinking about what material I got laying around. I got one more piece of square that'll come across here. Nope, we're short. Got this piece of 1/2 inch round, which is very strong. It's thicker wall. What I'm attempting to do here is just set up a structure to lay the floor pan on. So I'm aiming to get, see how they cut this out here? This is for the other application. They had one of those tall, skinny, like more vertical radiators, and they cut this beautiful piece of the grill out, which I'm going to replace. So I just want to put some structure behind it to act as a spreader, and then I can bring this sheet metal right to it. Just give that a little more depth. Even though you don't really see it, it's going to make me feel better, for what it's worth. Right now we're doing the walk in circles portion of the programming, where I figure out what material I have. So I got 2 pieces of round. Wish I had one more 5/8 square to finish that. I do. It's rusty, but I got it. We'll be back right after these messages. I got stuff laying everywhere. Look at this. It's a little rusty. Same material. Plenty of that there stuff. All right, now we're restocked. A little trip out to the back 40. Do it every time. So this will be easy. I'll just wire wheel this, but I like how this is a little bit bent. I'm sitting out on the range, but it's going to work in our favor. I was going to curve this, but now it's already curved. I'll have to curve it a little bit more.
Because you want it to bend down a little bit in the middle?
Well, I want to kind of, I'll explain once I cut this, but I'll get my marker, we'll make a cut. But yeah, I want this to be crossing over at this height. So we want it that long. Somehow it all works out in the end every time. Think you're out of material and you remember that old junk sculpture of a moth that was laying in the back.
Is that what that's from?
It's a piece of it, yeah. Yeah. So see what I was getting at? I want to touch this and this.
So that's why you need it curved a bit.
Yes. So I'm thinking a little hit on the inside. Hit on the inside. This tighter bender is good for this. See, there's almost no radius. It's just a pinch point. You just put it on there. I might be doing this backwards, who knows? But it works. That's all I'm getting at. On the inside, on the inside. There. Let's just check it. If you're trying to do a bigger bend on that radius, it would kink it. So again, I know what I'm able to get away with. So yeah, it's way more than we needed, but do a couple push-ups, push downs. Closer. So that meshes, that's got to go down a wee bit. Right there. See, now they're landing basically on that bend. Just going to come back and straighten it back out. For this, I'm just going to put it in the vise because I want a really controlled bend. I just want that to hit that tab on the truck body. So I'm pulling this in plane with this, even though it's not in the vise as a proper jig. I'm going to slide a bigger piece of tube over this as a little structure. A lot of people call this like a cheater bar because it allows you to cheat your leverage. So see, now this is all locked up. They're the same, and I'm going to pull parallel with this without ripping the vise off the table. Yeah, like that. So see a little hoo-ha. That's the official technical term for it.
The hoo-ha.
Mm-hmm.
Thingamajig.
Chicane. It's an actual racing term. Think about it.
What is it?
It's called a chicane.
Chiking.
Shwing. All right. Kind of parallel, kind of a little shilly-shally. See how it looks. All right, I like it. Again, we over-amped it just a little bit. Use the truck as the bender. Yeah, look at that. Within spec. Oops. That one's got to come out just a little bit. I'm going to give it a bop with the big hammer. It really doesn't have to be this fancy. I am showing off, just for the record.
Are you?
Yeah. Well, I'm just showing theory on bending tube. So could I have just put a straight shot in? Sure, you're not even going to see this, but I'm just discussing like what you can do with these benders. You know, if you're making a framework that required that, you could do it. All right. So I like that. It's going to come back just a wee bit. That one's down. See the hole in this anvil too? You could just put it in there. Let's give it a little action.
I never really realized how many purposes anvils actually have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, look, perfect fit up. I like it.
Never knew. Wow.
And this one's got to go back just a little bit. Is teaching actually showing off, or is it simply teaching?
It's teaching.
Something to ponder.
You're finding your flow with your YouTube channel.
All right. Just like so. That's cool. We can work with that. Pump that out just 1/16 more. Yeah. So there, boom, nails it both sides. Just like that. Take a little rust off these things. See how flimsy it is since they cut that all out? So that's the only reason I'm grabbing that. That way when I put this on, it's all locked in tight. Turn that welder down just a touch. And most projects like this, you know, this is never going to be show car status. It's not in the cards for this one. But like if we don't sandblast it, we've acid dipped a couple bodies, but for stuff like this, later, even though you see all this rust, there's that product called POR15, POR15, at least in the US. It's like this stuff that turns the rust to black, and I've had good results with that. Again, we live in a desert, so the rain and issues in other parts of the country, you know, this might be a total fail. I did a car in New York and it was a total fail. But out here we can work with material that has some rust on it and then just coat it with that really good product. All right. See if I got this backwards or not. That fits. Yeah, so we got a decent fit up on both of these. I like it. That's gonna go there. This party started. A little bit of a gap in that because the cut from the other stuff wasn't that straight, so I'm just trying to get it all in line. Cool. Get in here and line these up. We're going to put 2 vertical risers in here. They're later going to get tied in to the floor. Might even put a little corner gusset here. That'll be pretty strong. Let me get this last seam welded up. I think see how this is still flimsy?
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm going to triangulate off of here to here and then there straight up. That'll give this some structure. Might even hit it here. That's going to be even better. Yeah, it's going to be even better. Yeah, so I'm going to come just behind the weld so that where this structure has really got a good grip. And then make a triangulation like such. All right, so we got that angle covered. We're going to come right into that. I'll just trace this right back here. Cut it. Should be the same angles, yeah, darn close. It's coming right below there. Look at that, just lucked out with that material too. Yeah, cool. Just like that. Ready? Cool. So that rigidizes it quite a bit. Get a good grab into that structure back here. Now we'll go for 2 vertical rises. That should put some structure back in town. Go right onto the good part of that weld. Get this vertical. These have a little curve in them, so I'm just to make it look prettier. I'm just putting the curve facing the front of the truck. Doesn't really matter. Just So it got a little bent out on the range. Structure. I'm gonna cut these little pieces of sheet metal off. That's a good start to our front body structure. A little bit like a nice wrought iron fence. So you can see what this arrangement affords. It triangulates it in a way that this body, even though these A-pillars are super strong, this thing will not shift. Triangulation won't allow that to do that. And then this can't push down because we're locked on a triangle here. So I would consider that very strong for what we're up to. Next up, we're gonna do some sheet metal pattern making and sheet metal floors.
Holy sheep.
Holy sheep. Come on back now. We're gonna keep working. The video ends in